Hey everyone, ready to jump into the future with us? Today we are going deep into some wild predictions about how technology could really transform humanity by 2030.
Sounds intense.
Yeah, it is. It is. The predictions come from this interesting article. The title translates to 9 developments that will make us superhumans or machines by 2030. Can you handle the truth?
Wow.
Yeah, pretty provocative, right?
Yeah.
And it's from a Greek website that covers a lot of different stuff, from science and tech to spirituality even, and unexplained phenomena.
Okay, interesting mix.
Yeah.
So what do they say? Are they saying we're all going to be like robots in 10 years?
Well, not exactly robots, but the article does really lay out 9 specific advancements that they say could completely change what it means to be human.
Like what? Give us an example.
All right, well, how about this? Downloading knowledge directly into our brains.
Whoa.
Yeah, like imagine being able to learn a new language in an instant. Or mastering some complex skill, without years of study and practice.
It's definitely a very attractive idea. Who wouldn't want to learn things that quickly?
Yeah, it's pretty tempting. But, is it even possible?
Well, it's not quite there yet, not like plugging in a USB drive, but there is research going on in this area. Scientists they're exploring ways to create like more direct communication between our brains and computers.
Like a brain-computer interface.
Exactly, yeah, brain-computer interfaces. And it could have huge implications for, learning and skill acquisition.
I can see that.
Imagine a future where you can just access vast amounts of information or even control devices with just your thoughts.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it. But, it also makes me wonder, would we even still value learning the same way? If information became so readily available, would we even have the drive to really explore and experiment and discover things for ourselves?
That's a really good point. It's a question about what drives us to learn. Is it just about acquiring information, or is it something more?
Right. And how would this kind of technology change education? Would schools even exist in the same way?
It would certainly require us to rethink education as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe traditional learning would become obsolete and we'd need to find entirely new ways to teach and learn.
Yeah. And I can't help but think about the potential downsides, too. What about, like, the possibility for manipulation or control, Or, creating a digital divide where those who have access to this technology have such a significant advantage over those who don't.
All really important ethical considerations.
Yeah.
And it goes beyond just the technology itself, right? It's about how it would shape our society, our understanding of what it means to be human.
So it's not just a technological question, it's a very human question.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, well, the article doesn't stop there. They go on to list 8 other potential advancements, some even wilder than the brain downloads.
Okay, well, lay it on us.
Well, how about this one? Built-in immunity.
What does that mean, built-in immunity?
So think about it. Having, like, subcutaneous implants that can instantly detect any kind of pathogen and create antibodies to protect us from disease.
Wow, that sounds pretty amazing.
Right. No more colds or flu shots or potentially even eradicating some of the deadliest diseases.
So it's kind of like having a superpowered immune system.
Exactly. Constantly on alert and ready to neutralize any threat. But then again, you have to wonder what would be the long-term effects on our natural immune systems. If we become totally reliant on technology for immunity, would our body's own defenses just weaken over time?
It's certainly a question worth considering. Our immune systems have evolved over millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when we start messing with that delicate balance?
Right. It's like, do we understand the potential consequences fully? And, what about the impact on the pharmaceutical industry? If we didn't need antibiotics or vaccines anymore, how would that transform, healthcare?
It's a huge question with implications for, everything from drug development to healthcare policies.
Okay. Are you ready for the next one?
I think so. Hit me.
Okay. 3D printed wings.
That's right. What? Wings?
You heard right. Wings.
Like we can fly.
That's what the article suggests, yeah. Icarus, eat your heart out, right? That's, it's pretty wild.
So are they saying that we'll be strapping on, 3D printed wings and just taking off into the sky?
Well, the technology for creating functional wings like that is still pretty early stage, but 3D printing is already being used for, prosthetics and complex implants. So Who knows?
So the idea is that we could extend our physical capabilities with 3D printing. It's certainly an interesting idea, although I have to admit I'm having a little trouble wrapping my head around it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's pretty out there. But think about it. I mean, how would we even ensure those wings were lightweight enough, but also durable enough to, support human flight?
Yeah, that's a big engineering challenge right there.
Right. And then what about the control mechanisms? Would you need some kind of neural interface to like control them with your mind?
That's a whole other layer of complexity.
Right. And then, I mean, wouldn't this create a whole new set of regulations and safety concerns?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, can you imagine, everyone flying around with 3D printed wings? We'd need air traffic control for personal flight, new infrastructure, who knows what else.
It would be chaos.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much we take for granted, just how much our society is built around our current limitations.
That's a good point. Okay, well, let's move on to the next superhuman ability the article talks about, supervision.
Supervision. Okay, I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, so they suggest that future humans could have enhanced vision, allowing us to see beyond, the normal visible light spectrum, so things like X-rays or infrared.
Like Superman.
Exactly, yeah, like Superman.
Wow, okay, so how would they do that?
Well, they talk about, advancements in gene editing and visual prosthetics as potential ways to get there. I mean, scientists have already made progress in treating like color blindness with gene therapy, and there's research on artificial retinas, so...
So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
Right.
Huh, okay. Well, but what would it be like, to be able to see in the dark or to perceive things that are invisible to us now?
It would definitely change our perception of the world around us, wouldn't it?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, imagine the possibilities, but also the potential risks. I mean, what about privacy? Imagine being able to see through walls or having your thoughts and emotions read through, like subtle changes in your pupils.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, every advancement seems to come with both potential benefits and potential downsides.
Right. Yeah. Okay, the next one's, well, it's kind of a classic. Super strength.
Okay, who doesn't want super strength?
Right.
Sign me up.
Yeah, the article suggests that future humans could have, enhancements to their bones and muscles, making them, super strong and really resistant to injuries.
It's like bulletproof?
I mean, maybe not literally bulletproof.
Okay.
But much stronger than we are now, for sure. And get this, the article even suggests we could achieve this get ready for it without exercise.
Oh, come on, really?
No more gym memberships.
That would be nice.
Right. I mean, imagine, athletes breaking all kinds of records, construction workers lifting incredibly heavy materials. I mean, even just everyday people, doing things that would have been impossible before.
It sounds like it could change so many aspects of our lives.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, wouldn't this raise all sorts of, questions about fairness, in competition?
Yeah, I mean, how would we even level the playing field if some people have super strength and others don't?
Yeah. Would we need to create like separate categories for enhanced and non-enhanced athletes?
That's a tough question. I mean, what would it even mean to be an athlete in a world where you could just enhance your physical abilities?
Right, exactly. And then what about our own sense of accomplishment? I mean, if physical strength became something we could just engineer, would we even, value hard work and dedication in the same way?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
And it's something we'll have to wrestle with as these technologies advance. I mean, how do we define human excellence in a world where we can manipulate our abilities so easily?
Yeah, really good question. All right, the next one gets into some pretty deep philosophical territory, higher consciousness.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so the article, it suggests that through advancements in pharmaceuticals and neurology, we could reach, higher states of awareness or even alter our perception of reality.
I see. So like changing our consciousness through technology.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild idea, but it's something it's fascinated people for centuries, right? I mean, the idea of transcending our limitations and reaching a higher level of being.
It's a very human desire, I think, to reach beyond ourselves.
Right. But I mean, what does it even mean, right? To achieve higher consciousness through technology. I mean, is it really possible to engineer enlightenment or some kind of spiritual awakening?
It's a deep philosophical question.
Yeah. And then there are, of course, ethical concerns too, right? I mean, what are the risks of of manipulating our own consciousness in this way, What could be the unintended consequences of altering our perception of reality or tampering with our emotional and cognitive states?
Those are questions we can't ignore. We can't just blindly pursue these advancements without considering the potential risks.
Okay, this next one, well, it's maybe a little more lighthearted. Instant beauty.
Instant beauty. So like a magic potion?
Well, not exactly a potion, but the article talks about using gene editing to basically alter our physical appearance, at will. So changing our eye color or skin tone or hair thickness, anything really.
So like taking those photo filters to a whole new level.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's an interesting idea, but I can see how that could be pretty controversial.
Yeah, I mean, if we could customize our appearance at will, what happens to our sense of self-acceptance, right? And the diversity of human beauty. I mean, would we all end up just looking the same, striving for some, impossible ideal of perfection?
It's a good question. I mean, would it liberate us from societal pressures, or would it just create new ones?
And, I mean, wouldn't this create like a whole new kind of social divide, where access to this technology would, probably be limited to those who could afford it. And it could further, widen the gap between the haves and have-nots.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we'd have to think carefully about the social and economic implications of any of these advancements.
Okay. Are you ready for a couple more?
Hit me.
Okay, this one's called Taming the Body, which sounds a little bit ominous.
Taming the body.
Yeah, it's a little bit creepy.
What does it mean?
Well, the article suggests that through deep brain stimulation, we could control our senses.
Control our senses.
Yeah, so like, turning up or down our sensitivity to pain or even enhancing our enjoyment of like movies or sporting events.
Wow, so we could literally like manipulate our experiences.
It seems that way, yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, imagine being able to, just tune out pain during a workout or just crank up the excitement during a movie.
I can see the appeal, but I have to admit, it also makes me a little uneasy.
Yeah, me too. I mean, wouldn't that make life feel kind of artificial? And where would we even draw the line, right? I mean, between enhancing our experiences and becoming, completely dependent on some kind of artificial stimulation.
That's slippery slope for sure. And the ethical implications are huge.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. Okay, well, last but not least, we have bionic hearing.
Bionic hearing.
So the article suggests that people could have implants that would allow them to hear sounds beyond, the normal human range.
So kind of like super hearing.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine being able to hear, the really subtle sounds of nature, or even communicate with animals using, ultrasonic frequencies.
Wow, that would be incredible.
Yeah, it would be like opening up this whole new world of sound. But it also makes you wonder, wouldn't that change our relationship with silence, in the natural world?
It's an interesting question, yeah. I mean, what happens when we can constantly hear everything?
Would silence even be possible anymore?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I mean, our senses are tuned to our environment, right? And altering them could have, some pretty unexpected consequences, both for our well-being and our perception of the world.
It's like we have to remember that even advancements that seem positive on the surface can have drawbacks.
Yeah, there are always trade-offs.
Always, yeah.
Well, there you have it. The 9 advancements that this article claims could make us superhuman by 2030.
Wow, that's a lot to digest.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm sure we've only scratched the surface, really.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
I'm really curious to delve into some of these a bit deeper, though.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's a fascinating glimpse into the future.
Definitely.
And a lot to think about. I think out of all these advancements, the one that's really got me thinking is that downloading knowledge directly to our brains.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's just mind-boggling to think about what that could mean for, education, research, even, closing that knowledge gap between generations and cultures.
Yeah.
It's really something else.
Yeah, it's like straight out of science fiction.
Right.
But then, researchers are working towards it. So it's like it's not totally out of the realm of possibility,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But then it makes you wonder, what would happen to our our traditional ways of learning.
Right.
Like, would we even need schools and universities anymore?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, would we even need textbooks or lectures if information could just be like instantly downloaded?
I mean, it really challenges everything we know about education, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. And what about the role of teachers then?
Yeah.
I mean, would they become more like mentors, or facilitators, helping students kind of wade through all this vast sea of information?
Makes sense of it all.
Yeah, exactly. And helping them, learn how to actually use it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the focus would shift more to, critical thinking and problem solving and creativity, skills that you can't really just download.
Right.
You have to cultivate those.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you also have to wonder, wouldn't there be like a risk of information overload?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like if we could just download any piece of information anytime we wanted, I mean, would we even be able to process it all and retain it? Would we, lose the ability to focus and really think deeply about things?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's like having access to the entire Library of Congress, but, without a librarian to guide you.
Right, exactly. You need some way to navigate it.
Yeah, you need a system.
And you need to be able to tell, reliable information from misinformation.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like we'd almost need to develop like new cognitive skills, right?
Right.
To really manage this influx of information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to be able to filter and prioritize what's really important.
Yeah, we'd have to become much more discerning in what we choose to focus on. I think another one that really kind of grabbed my attention was the built-in immunity.
Oh yeah.
To imagining a world where we're free from the threat of infectious diseases. It's a pretty utopian vision.
It is. It really is. And it could revolutionize healthcare and extend human lifespans.
Absolutely.
But I it also makes you think about the potential downsides, right? Like what happens if we become so reliant on technology for our immunity that our natural immune systems start to weaken,
Yeah, and what happens when that technology fails?
Right.
Or if new diseases emerge that our artificial immune systems don't know how to fight?
Yeah, it's a really good point.
It's a lot to consider.
And then there's also the impact on the pharmaceutical industry, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if we didn't need antibiotics anymore or vaccines, I mean, how would that transform the whole healthcare landscape?
I mean, it would be a massive shift.
Yeah.
And it's hard to even predict all the ways it would ripple through our society.
Okay, I got to ask you about the 3D printed wings.
Oh, the wings.
I'm still kind of stuck on that one.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, it's such a thrilling idea, but then, also a little terrifying, right?
Yeah, I mean, the freedom to fly, it's a dream that humans have had for centuries.
Yeah.
But then there's also the potential for accidents and just chaos,
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I mean, wouldn't it require us to just completely rethink our infrastructure,
Yeah.
We'd need air traffic control, landing zones, safety regulations. I mean,
everything.
It's a logistical nightmare.
It would be. And then you've got the social implications too, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, would everyone have access to this technology, or would it, just become another luxury for the wealthy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, would it create yet another form of inequality?
Yeah. So I think, with all these things, we have to think about the equity and the accessibility right from the start.
Absolutely, yeah.
We have to make sure that these advancements, benefit all of humanity.
Right. Not just a select few.
Yeah, exactly. The supervision one, I think that raises some really fascinating questions about how we experience the world.
Yeah.
Imagine, being able to see in the dark, or to detect heat signatures, or even to see through objects,
Yeah, it would be like having a superpower. It would totally change our understanding of what's around us.
Right. And it would reveal things that are currently hidden from us.
Absolutely.
But then it also raises these really big questions about privacy and surveillance,
Oh, for sure.
I mean, imagine a world where nothing is truly hidden.
Yeah, but isn't that scary?
Where our every move could be, could be monitored, and even, even our thoughts
No.
potentially.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we need some very clear boundaries and safeguards
Yeah.
to make sure that kind of technology wasn't misused.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, super strength.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that we could enhance our physical capabilities to these superhuman levels.
An intriguing one.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But it also, kind of brings up some ethical dilemmas.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I mean, in the world of sports, for example, or any kind of, competition, I mean, wouldn't we have to create like separate categories for enhanced and non-enhanced people?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, how do you even define fair play in a world where people can just, boost their abilities?
Right.
It's a whole new set of rules that we'd have to figure out.
Yeah. And then there's, the inequality piece, right?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, those who have access to these enhancements would have like a huge advantage over those who don't.
Yeah, it could definitely create a whole new kind of class divide.
Yeah. So, we have to think about those ethical and social consequences right from the beginning.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, technology it's not neutral, right? It always has an impact on society.
Right. Okay, I want to circle back to higher consciousness because I think this one's particularly interesting.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And a little hard to really wrap your head around, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And wouldn't there be a risk of creating like a new kind of spiritual elitism,
Interesting.
where people who have access to these technologies claim to have, reached some higher level of consciousness than those who don't.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening.
Right. It's something to be really, really mindful of. Okay. Instant beauty. Let's tackle that one.
All right.
The idea of using gene editing to just like alter our physical appearance, it's loaded with ethical implications,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
what would it do to our ideas about beauty, and the pressure to conform to certain standards?
Yeah, would it lead to a homogenization of beauty, where everyone's striving for the same idealized features?
And then there's the impact on self-acceptance, right? And body image. I mean, if we can just easily change our appearance, would we just become, obsessed with achieving some unattainable ideal of perfection?
It's a real risk.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we're already seeing that to some extent with social media and filters,
Right. Yeah, it's amplifying it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to think about how these more advanced technologies would further amplify those pressures.
Right. And then, wouldn't it also create like a whole new market for these beauty enhancements?
Absolutely.
And drive even more consumerism and potentially just exacerbate, the inequalities that already exist.
Yeah, that's a big concern.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to be careful that these technologies don't just become tools for, for further commodification and exploitation.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, taming the body.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still not sure I like the sound of that one.
It's a little creepy, isn't it?
It is a little creepy. But, it does raise some interesting points about deep brain stimulation.
Yeah, I mean, deep brain stimulation is already being used to treat, certain conditions like Parkinson's and chronic pain.
Yeah.
But the idea of using it to manipulate our senses, for pleasure or entertainment, I mean, that's a whole other thing.
Right. And it raises those questions about, addiction and the blurring of reality, right? I mean, imagine being able to just flip a switch and tune out pain or amplify pleasure. I mean, it's tempting. But would it also, would it diminish our capacity for resilience and for coping with discomfort?
Yeah, I mean, would we become overly reliant on technology to manage our emotional states?
Right.
And what that do to our ability to actually regulate our own feelings and just deal with the the inevitable ups and downs of life.
And wouldn't it also create like this new form of escapism where we retreat into these virtual worlds where everything's perfectly curated and we just kind of disconnect from the real world and on all its messiness, you know?
It's a real possibility. I mean, we already see that to some extent with social media and video games and all that.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So it's like we're already kind of, you know, heading down that path.
Yeah, we're already on that slippery slope.
Right, exactly. So, okay, the last one, bionic hearing.
Yes.
You know, the idea that we could have implants that allow us to hear sounds beyond the normal human range.
It's a pretty amazing concept.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just imagine being able to, to hear the subtle sounds of nature that we're currently missing out on.
Right.
Or even communicate with, with animals, potentially.
Yeah, it's like opening up a whole new world, right?
Totally.
But it also makes you wonder, wouldn't it also kind of change our relationship with silence?
That's a good question.
If we could constantly hear everything.
Yeah, would silence even be possible anymore? And what would that do to us?
Yeah, I mean, silence is, it's often associated with peace and tranquility.
Right.
But would it become, a source of anxiety or even like sensory deprivation in a world where we're constantly just bombarded with sound,
It's a good question. Yeah. I mean, it makes you realize that even advancements that seem, positive on the surface can have these unexpected consequences.
Right. And I think it highlights the importance of really considering, the impact on our well-being and our relationship with the world around us.
Definitely. I mean, we can't just assume that more is always better.
Right. We have to think about, what's really good for us, not just what's possible.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've explored these 9 advancements that this article claims could make us superhuman, by 2030.
A lot to think about.
It is. And I'm sure we've only scratched the surface.
Definitely. I mean, each one of these advancements could lead to, to a whole new set of questions and challenges.
But that's what makes it so intriguing, right?
Absolutely.
And it's a conversation that we need to keep having as we, navigate this rapidly changing world.
For sure. I mean, we have to be both excited and cautious.
Yeah.
Embracing the potential benefits of these technologies, but also being mindful of the risks.
Right, the potential downsides.
Yeah, and being prepared to adapt and adjust course as we go.
It's really interesting, going through all of these potential upgrades to humanity. It really strikes me how many of them are basically about, bypassing our natural limitations.
That's a good point, yeah.
Like, instant knowledge. That eliminates the need for years of study, right? Built-in immunity that takes away the vulnerability to disease.
Right.
Super strength that kind of makes physical effort, obsolete.
Yeah, it's like this recurring theme of transcendence, right? This desire to overcome the constraints of our biology and achieve some kind of state of being that's beyond human, as we currently understand it.
Yeah. But then it makes you wonder, what happens to our humanity, if we're constantly striving to transcend it?
That's the big question, isn't it?
What does it even mean to be human if we eliminate the very things that have, historically defined our existence?
Right, like our vulnerability or resilience,
Yeah.
our capacity for growth and adaptation.
Right. It's like, that old saying, be careful what you wish for, right? We might achieve this state of, superhuman capability, but at what cost?
Exactly, yeah.
It makes you wonder, if in our pursuit of this superhumanity, we might actually be, eroding the very qualities that make us human.
Right, like empathy and compassion and our sense of connection to, something larger than ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
We're using technology to enhance our abilities and push the boundaries of what's possible, but in doing so, we might actually be losing sight of what really matters. I think this whole deep dive has really highlighted, the importance of approaching these advancements with a critical eye.
Yeah.
Not just getting, caught up in the excitement of the upgrade, but really asking ourselves, what kind of future are we creating? What values are we prioritizing?
Right.
And how do we ensure that these technologies are really used to enhance human flourishing, not diminish it?
Those are the questions that are going to shape the future.
Mm-hmm.
And they're questions that each of us needs to be thinking about, not just scientists and policymakers. The future is not something that's just happening to us. It's something that we're all creating together.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So to everyone listening, keep questioning, keep exploring, keep engaging in these conversations.
Absolutely.
The future is unfolding right now, and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep those minds expanding.